I'm out here at Rare Plant Research, and I'm with Burl. And you know, a lot of us, Burl, when we think of really unusual, unique plants, you instantly jump to our minds. And so a lot of people really got introduced to the wonderful olive trees, a lot of times through you and your love of them. And this winter was pretty hard on them.
It was pretty tough on them. In fact, I've talked to a number of people that planted small olives, and I think they lost them.
Yeah.
The key with olives is that when they have a small trunk, less than 3/4 of an inch or an inch in diameter, if we get really cold temperatures, they actually need to be protected, because the freeze will split the trunk and it will kill the plant to the ground or maybe completely kill it.
Okay, that makes sense, because a lot of times with any kind of plant, though, if it's very young when you plant it and we have the kind of winter we did, it can damage it badly, so that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and so the key really is to cover it the first couple of years. If we get a cold Arctic air mass that comes through, and then you would take that covering like a blanket or something off of that, and then until it gets a couple of years old, then it will be a good size. And so this is an example. Normally you don't get this kind of damage. This is fairly severe damage. This whole top branch died because of the cold. We had 8 degrees here, 2 nights of 8 degrees. And normally we don't get that. But look at this. Down here, little flower buds are already coming out. So it's going to be fine. We have some 75-year-old ones here in our garden. And it's the same thing. Their little leaves are starting to come out, and a few flower buds are coming out. And they're pretty tough.
So really what you want to make sure that people understand is, just because it might look like some of those limbs, give it an opportunity and see for sure that it might not just start leafing out again.
That's right. In fact, that's a real important point, because with olives, a lot of times, if they're small, they can freeze clear to the ground and you think they're dead, and then up from the roots comes a shoot.
So patience is the key here.
It really is.
Well, go ahead.
And if you don't see anything by June, they went to plant heaven.
Patience only lasts so long, doesn't it? So speaking of patience, I'm excited to go into this new space of yours, the conservatory, and look at some more plants. Let's do that now.
That sounds great.
Okay, now we are inside here, Burl, and we're going to be looking at several plants that you have. Let's first of all start with these that are not really hardy here at all, but are so beautiful. One of my favorite that I just found recently, maybe a couple years ago, was this Saniya. So tell me about this.
Well, it's a plant from Brazil, and they grow on cliffs. Usually where it's somewhat moist. They have sort of filtered shade. They're not hardy. They can't really take any frost. But look at the blooms. I mean, they're just absolutely stunning.
They really are.
Yeah, they'll bloom that way for a month.
Well, and I have to tell you that when they also have this great, you tell me the name of what this is.
This is a caudex.
Okay.
Or a group of plants that have these tubers are called caduciforms.
And they can get quite large. And I didn't know that. I had an actual customer one time tell me, hey, what is that covered up for? They're so beautiful when those are exposed, and add to the beauty of the plant in general, I think.
They're just absolutely wonderful. And one of the things, too, is if you see these little buds here, once it's done blooming, you can break this stalk off, and these little buds will sprout, and they will produce another flower.
Wow, wonderful plant. Now, of course, you do such a lovely job of growing these kind of things. I absolutely love them. Talk about them a little bit.
Well, yes, these are echeverias right here, these two, echeveria hybrids, and they'll get up to 16 inches in diameter. They like full sun. This is Aloe Dorothy from East Africa, and that also likes full sun. And this is Calantro thriciflora from South Africa, and it also likes full sun. These all can take upper 20s, so they really need to be overwintered indoors, or some people just let them go to plant heaven. Yeah,
I like that. And so now let's talk about some of the stuff that is unusual and yet really quite hardy here.
Well, this is a plant. This is Eucomus camosa. It's a selection called Victoria, and I found this on a plant collecting trip in New Zealand about 10 or 15 years ago. It gets about 2.5 feet tall. This one's not in flower, but it has this great colored foliage, and it's a type of pineapple lily, and the flower looks like a pineapple. And so they're absolutely hardy. We grow these actually in a field, and then we dig them in late winter and pot them up, and then they're sold in garden centers like
I love them because even without the bloom, the foliage is often quite dramatic.
They're just absolutely stunning, and there's like half a dozen different kinds.
Now this little girl is really stunning.
This, as far as I know, is the first time that this has ever been grown, at least in the Pacific Northwest, let alone the West Coast. This I found when I was in South Africa about, 10 years or so ago. It's Hypoxis himerocaldea, and the common name is African potato. They also have another common name called a field star, because these little flowers come up like stars. And it's also a bulb, and we are very surprised that it is hardy. It's made it through the last 2 winters, including last winter at 8 degrees. Wow. And so the unusual thing about it, it has this sort of three-cornered hat shape, and that's how it grows. It actually gets about 4 times the size in this little gallon pot.
Beautiful.
They're just absolutely incredible.
And of course, who doesn't love the coniferous plants?
Oh yes, this is Saniya, one called Scarlet Belle, and it is rock bone hardy here. We've had it in our pond for 5 years, in a pot for about the same amount of time. Froze solid last year at 8 degrees. Looks great.
Well, the great thing about coming out to the nursery now is you also have wine that you're selling.
Yes, this is our first vintage that we've produced, and we're going to be open for the first time.
Nice.
At our open nursery coming up today and tomorrow.
Wonderful. Well, you know, if you think to yourself, the plants are enough reasons to come out to Rare Plant Research. Now there is another offering of wonderful wine, so come on out, talk to Burl, taste some wine, and pick up some beautiful plants for your garden. It's always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.